Hello, everybody. I'm just finishing up a few more things here before we get started. Let me make that sound a little less aggressive, passive aggressive there. I don't even think that. Hold on just a second. Uh, well, I don't know how to send the link to the stream. Anyway, we're just gonna get started. I'll figure it out later, but um I thought, as you can tell by the name of the stream, I thought we would do make some weapons because that's something a lot of people haven't done yet for Halo 3. Of course, there's a lot of, custom weapons that you can find on like Nexus mods or even in some of the Steam Workshop. You have the Halo Infinite weapons, but what I want to do is make weapons that look like and feel like they were made in 2007, essentially when Halo 3 came out. So, uh before we start though, um oh my gosh. Now I'm getting bit rate issues. I don't normally stream. Uh but this is something that I would like to do pretty frequently. Not every day necessarily, but um I want to shoot for at least a couple of times a week. Um, just doing not only Halo 3 mods, but also just game development streams, specifically in the Godot engine. And I know the Godot community isn't on fire right now, but frankly, I don't care. I just use it as a tool. It's just a tool to me, and it's a good one. So that's what I use. Uh, anyway, uh, yeah, plan on doing this. I don't know. Like I said, at least a couple of times a week. I want to, this is kind of a excuse for me to really, really settle down and work on stuff um, when I stream. So let's just get started. Uh, things will change. This is my first time streaming. In a couple years, probably. So expect things in the stream to change. One issue currently is that the webcam I'm using is my DSLR, and the way I have it set up right now, it has an issue where I think it'll turn off like every 30 minutes. So that's something I'm gonna have to like stay vigilant on. Basically turn it back on. But anyway, another issue with the camera is that uh, I don't have it connected to uh, the webcam software uh, because it's a whole big story. I'm gonna fix it at some point. I just don't have the means to fix it right now, but you might see a little square around my face because it's trying to like focus or something on my face. Um, and my lovely neck beard here that I'm too lazy to shave off right now. I'll shave it off for next stream. But I said this already, but let's actually get started. So, anyway, I have the assault rifle from Halo 3, and I have the battle rifle from Halo 3. And I thought we would use these as kind of a reference point for how dense we want to make our mesh, how our mesh is structured, and also as kind of a reference for texturing as well. So, couple things we need to keep in mind for Halo 3 weapons in particular is that one, the meshes are generally very low poly. We're talking here, what is it? The battle rifle is like 3,000 triangles, which is incredibly small. Assault rifle is at 2,000, a little over 2,000 triangles. I mean, you're talking very low poly. Most, not even most, pretty much all of the detail is within the texture work. The normal maps, the diffuse maps, the specular maps, pretty much. So texturing is going to be where most of our focus is. And for this commando rifle that we're making, I'm going to try to stick pretty close to the 3,000 triangle limit. Really, the only part here of the battle rifle that I would consider anywhere near high poly, even though it's really not, is the scope here. The scope is like, I want to say 24 vertices or 24 edges around. It's basically a cylinder. What I can do here is I can turn on where is it? It's under object properties, viewport display, and we can set this, or we want to change this to wire, and you can kind of see what's going on here. Very, very low poly. Like I said, most of the detail, or pretty much all of the detail, is within texture work. Another thing we need to keep in mind with Halo 3 models in particular is the texturing. So what I'll do here is I will open up UV Editor's fine, and let's take a look at the textures. So here, the battle rifle, this might be really confusing for beginners, but basically what's happening here is you have a channel pack texture, which is the color texture, the diffuse texture essentially, and then the specular map. And the specular map is a black and white image. And what they did essentially is they packed the black and white image into the alpha channel. So that's why there's alpha transparency in this texture. So if I change display channels here to color, you can actually see the color map of the battle rifle, and it's starting to make a little bit more sense here. And then here, if we take a look at the alpha channel, you can see that black and white texture here. Now the reclaimers, the reclaimers library, I think is the name of the website. It's basically the premier Halo modding article website that isn't by Microsoft. It's a fan made kind of website, for as far as I know. They have a pretty good method of converting PBR textures to the Halo 3 style specular maps. I don't think we're going to be doing it that way for the Commando Rifle, because first of all, I want to make it decently close to vanilla Halo 3 as possible. But also, it's not a perfect method. There are some issues that could very well come up from it. Essentially, I haven't read it in a while, but what you do basically is you take the metalness texture, the roughness texture, and the ambient occlusion texture, and you kind of multiply them together in certain different ways, add them, multiply, and whatever. And that's one thing about Halo 3 specular maps, is that they're not 100% realistic. They're kind of stylized, where you have the ambient occlusion kind of baked into the specular map, which is something you really don't see very much at all, except in Halo 3. So we're going to be taking a look at the specular maps a lot for the assault rifle and the battle rifle as we're making our commando rifle. And here I'll show you what I did. Now, there is a there's a there's a tool for Blender, basically an add-on for Blender you can use, called uh completely ready for Blender CR4B, which is kind of crab, you know. Uh and if you go to the Halo Archive Discord, if you're a member of that, you'll know this, that the CR4B tool, what it does is that it basically makes, how in the world did this get here? I don't know. I didn't put these nodes here. Maybe that's a thing, because I did update to the newest version of Blender since I have worked on this file. But the CR4B tool, what it does is that it gets your shaders here in Blender as game accurate as possible for the Cycles render engine. We could use that, but that's a good tool to have, especially if you want to learn how Halo 3 shaders work in game. That's a really good tool to use. But here I didn't. I just threw together something that's not very game accurate, but it's good enough for our purposes. Essentially, what I did is I took the specular map here, which is baked into the alpha channel. I'm inverting it and I'm putting into the roughness channel. The roughness channel, whatever, of the principled BSDF, and that's good enough. That's totally fine. We also have a mission, illumination uh, maps in Halo 3 work, from my understanding, almost identically to, modern methods. There might be some differences here and there, but essentially it's the same. And then the normal map, because it's a DirectX normal map, and Blender uses, I don't know if Blender still uses OpenGL or not, but essentially Blender uses plus Y normal maps, and DirectX uses negative Y normal maps. So I just put a little node group here together to convert that. It's very simple, very easy to understand, uh, not very complicated. So I'm just, that's all that's happening here. It's not game accurate, but it's good enough for our purposes. So we have the battle rifle here, and I did import this as a JMS using the Blender Asset Development Toolset add-on for Blender. So I didn't import this using AMF or OBJ or anything. This is the actual JMS file, which is what we want, essentially. And you can see we have all these markers here. Now, I did import this a long time ago, before I really knew the ins and outs of the add-on, and if I were to do this again, I definitely would have imported this differently, but it works. It works fine. In the future, I may fix that. And then I did show you the assault rifle. The assault rifle is the same. So now that I've procrastinated long enough, let's get into actually modeling. modeling the Commando. Uh, and you'll have to excuse me, I have bad reflux. So you'll see me pause throughout the stream, I'm sure. We're going to delete everything, and the first thing I like to do when I am starting a Blender file for Halo 3 modding is the first thing I like to do is I like to change these three values. First of all, the most important ones are changing the clip start and the end. The clip start, generally, if you're working on maps, you're going to want to set this to 1 meter. But since we're working on a weapon, I'm going to set it to 0.1 meter. And then end is fine for weapons because we're not creating anything that's going to be over 1,000 meters. And then this, what I like to do for focal length is I like to set this to 18 millimeters, which is, I think, 70 degrees for FOV. What did I do? 18. There we go. You can see that kind of widened our view a little bit. And then next thing, of course, is to set color management to standard. And we want to change Halo scene properties, global scene settings. We want to change this to Halo 3. We should be pretty good now. I'm going to keep the timeline here, but I'm going to change it. Actually, since we're only going to be modeling, we can just get rid of the timeline. We're only going to be modeling in this stream. We're not going to be doing any texturing yet. Which reminds me of a point that I do want to make here. We're going to be using fairly, I'm sure there's a term for this texture method. I don't know what it is. It just kind of dawned on me that this is a way things could work. Typically when you're texturing, you really want to have a high poly model. Well, I'm not going to make a high poly model. I'm going to start with a low poly model, and that's all we're going to do, and I want to show you why. If we take a look at the battle rifle bump map, and this is the case with most Halo 3 bump maps. I'm talking probably 99% of Halo 3 bump maps, is that you'll notice that the bump map looks very flat. There's not a whole lot of artifacts that we would expect to see if they were baking from a high poly mesh to a low poly mesh. And, I wasn't there when they developed Halo 3. I can't say for sure, but I don't believe that the Bungie artists, baked from a high poly to a low poly mesh. I think that they used alternative methods to create bump maps for their 3D models. And I'm sure a 3D artist that is more experienced than me is probably going to prove me wrong in some way, and that's fine, but I'm just going to do things the way I want to do them. And we're not going to be creating a high poly model. We're not going to be baking from high poly to low poly. When we get to the texturing phase, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean and how I'm going to create the bump maps. We're going to get basically the exact same results as we would get here, but through an alternative method that, again, I'm sure has a term, has a name for it, but I don't know what it is. One other tiny point I want to bring up, too, actually, is that, I don't know how UV mapping worked back in 2007. I did not start making 3D art until 2015, so I don't know what previous methods were like, especially 8 years prior. But from analyzing these models quite a bit, one thing I found is that I I I think some things were flat mapped, but a lot of things make me believe that a lot of projection mapping was used. And I've talked to people online about this, and some people say, I think they were flat mapped, whatever. But I mean, this grip here, this foregrip right here, uh, could have been flat mapped. It doesn't look projection mapped. But the scope to me kind of looks like it was projection mapped to some degree. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't projection mapped. Maybe it was UV unwrapped by hand. And that could very well be the case. In fact, that's probably how it was done. But if we take a look at the scope here, if we were to mark seams here on this scope, and we were to, say, hey, blender UV unwrap. If we were to do that, we would get a considerably different shape than what we actually have in the UV map here that was created in 2007. So, just some food for thought. Um, we'll come around when we get to UV unwrapping, we'll look at different methods and we'll see what works best. Another thing right here is this knob, which is actually this thing right above the ammo counter. I hope everybody can hear me, by the way. If not, that would be really sad. In fact, my microphone says that it's picking up, so we'll just keep going. If you can hear me, and if you're watching, type in chat, say hello. Yeah, sounds good. Great. Okay. Okay. Thanks. That's what I needed to know. It's kind of hard for me to see the chat right here because I don't have my prescription glasses. These are my prescription glasses. I have my sunglasses on mainly to help with the studio lighting, but also to just kind of hide my identity a little bit. Kind of like Kit Boga. Anyway, we take a look at this knob here. This knob right here, this shape is identical. This was definitely projection mapped. No doubt about it. That knob is. So some parts are projection mapped, some parts aren't. It's very important to keep in mind that, when you go back to earlier games, earlier 3D games, especially games on the Nintendo 64, PlayStation, I want to say a lot of models were projection mapped because that was just the best thing they had access to at that point. And you can really see that if you take a look at like Super Mario 64, that whole game is projection mapped and it's very easy to see. So let's go back to our project, and I'm going to name this collection Halo 3. Everything we make for Halo 3 is going to go into this scene collection here. And let's save the file. Let's create a new folder. Let's call this, I don't know, weapons. I'll change things later if I need to. And let's create a new folder, Commando. And let's save this file. One of the best things to do when you're starting out a Blender file is always save first, so you can quickly just go save. There you go. Um, Now the people over in the Halo archive, if you're a Halo modder, the Halo archive is like a Discord channel that a Discord server that you need to join. Uh, I downloaded from the Halo archive the Halo Infinite weapons, basically all of them. And let me find it here. Again, I don't have my prescription glasses. Um, there it is. So, let me find it here. We want to append uh the thing is that I haven't opened these in a while, so I have to remember where I had them. We want to append a collection here. Let me open up that blend file so I can see which collection we need to import. I don't know why it takes forever. Okay, there's the assault rifle. We don't want the assault rifle. We want the VK-78 Commando. Okay, VK-78 Commando. It's going to be at the bottom, probably. Yeah. Now, this is very small. That's an issue here, and actually we want to do that. So we're not putting it in our Halo 3 collection. So what I'm going to do, let's go to the Reclaimers library here. They have a unit, where is it? Or no, it's scale and unit conversions. I'm going to assume, and we'll make sure that this is accurate later, but I assume that this is the Halo archive model here that we just imported is to scale. What I mean to scale is that, you know what? I'm just gonna show you. So let's look up VK-78 Commando. It is 111 centimeters long from the tip of the barrel to the buttstock. So we can close out of this. So let's, first of all, one thing about this Halo Archive model is that it's broken up into different meshes, which is fine. That's actually probably a good thing. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to add a cube. I'm going to set its dimensions. I'm going to set its dimensions to 11 centimeters. Or no, it was 111. 111 centimeters. So it's not to scale. I just changed the material preview and it's going to take a while to compile, which is funny because I'm running a pretty beefy video card right now. It's compiling shaders. Don't you just love shader compiling? It's like we never had a problem with shader compilation until like recently where I don't know. You know what I mean? If you play games on a PC. Surely it shouldn't take this. Okay. It's still compiling, but anyway. Let's go to wireframe and let's let's take the armature and let's scale it until it fits in the box. That's almost perfect. A little too much. I want to get it pretty accurate. I mean, it doesn't probably need to be this accurate, but I want to get it decently accurate. That's good. That's good enough. So now, this is definitely 111 centimeters long. Making sure that's the case. Now, we need to scale it again, because here, if we go to the Reclaimer's library website, C20, they have a scale and unit conversion. The thing with scale when creating Halo models, and you'll be very familiar with this if you've done any Halo modding, is that you need to make things very big. If we go back to the battle rifle model here, and we go, if we take a look at its dimensions, this is a 38-meter long rifle essentially. But that's just the way things are with Halo modding, and you can see that's the case here if we take a look at the Reclaimer's library website. JMS is basically based on feet. So if we were to take what's one world unit? It's 10 feet, which is equal to 100 JMS, but we're working with meters, and you'll notice that meters are a bit different. So if we change this to 1 meter, 32.808, so on and so on, is basically what we need to scale up to. We need to scale up our commando by that factor. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what we need to do. So we can just copy this number. Actually, we can't, because we've already scaled our model quite a bit. So what should we do here? Can we apply? What happens if we apply scale? That didn't do what I thought it was going to do, but that's good, because I thought that these meshes were going to snap back to where they were earlier. But that's good. I've never applied the scale of an armature before in Blender, and I've used Blender since 2015. So that should tell you how much you shouldn't scale an armature uh, and apply it, because that's just something you don't normally do. Uh, we can paste our number, and now it's huge, but this is the exact size we need it for. Let's delete our cube. We don't need that anymore. And let's save our file. So now we can start modeling. The first thing I like to start with is the barrel. Let's take a look at the assault rifle. So one thing you'll notice is that the barrels are very low poly, just like the rest of the model, like I stated earlier. Halo 3 models are very low poly. The barrel here on the assault rifle is, what, 8 edges? The battle rifle is even smaller. The battle rifle is 6 edges. That's incredibly small. Now that doesn't account for whatever you call this thing at the end. I don't know what that is. I know it has a name. I've looked it up before, but I can't remember what it's called. So we're we're going to add a circle here to start, and it's going to be pretty low. Pretty low poly. But the next thing I want to figure out is, what do we do with this? I think I got a pretty good idea. This muzzle brake here. Let's go ahead and let's add our circle. And let's undo that. Let's change the position of our 3D cursor. So now when we import a circle, it's now where we want it to be. So how many edges do we want on this circle? I'm thinking at least 8. 8's probably good enough. We're going to add at least 12 vertices for this muzzle brake. But let's go ahead and let's just put this into position. Oh, my camera turned off. Hold on. I said earlier at the beginning of the stream that's going to be a problem that is likely to happen. And now I know for sure, because that is the first time it is turned off on me. Let me make sure it, yeah. Here we go. And making the barrel about that long is fine. Now right here, we're going to create another circle for the muzzle brake. And this one's going to be a bit higher poly. Let's make this... Wonder if we should do 12 or 16. Honestly, 12's probably good enough. I'm pretty sure this little thing that the battle rifle has going on is 16. Let's make it 16, just to be safe. This muzzle brake's going to be a bit higher detail than the barrel itself, so I don't want to skimp out on it too much. Okay. And that's good. So, you're probably wondering, okay, so how do we actually join these together? We're just gonna be a little messy with it. The thing about game models in any video game, if it's not deforming, generally it's okay to have messy topology. In fact, a lot of the times you want that because it's going to make your models lower poly. Nothing about this model is going to deform. So we can kind of be as messy as we want. Now, of course, I'm not going to be just completely, all over the place with it, but I'm not as worried as if I were to make a character model with its topology. If I were making an elite, which is something we may do in the future, if we were making a brute or a grunt, I would definitely be more concerned about topology. But here, with a weapon, we want to target lower density rather than accuracy, essentially. I don't know if accuracy is the best term. So, yeah, if you were targeting, good topology, this would be a nightmare to figure out. But we're not very concerned. So, I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to call it good enough. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an edge here so we can add the mirror modifier. Let's add that. Let's add that mirror modifier. Here it is. So now we only have to do things on one side of the model. But eventually, we're going to need to turn the mirror modifier off because not everything on the commando is symmetrical. So, I'll show you. And this right here, the ammo counter, is not symmetrical, as well as the op handle, which is what I'm going to call it, because that's what it's called in Halo 3, is the op handle. The ammo counter is not symmetrical. You can see it's different on the other side, and I don't know how to feel about this ammo counter. I kind of don't like it. I don't like the design of it. I think it looks very clunky. There's a lot of wasted space, especially on the ammo counter. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what I want to do with this. Of course, the easy answer is to just model around it, copy it, but what if I want to do something different here? What if I want to put the ammo counter up here? I don't know, we'll see. What if I want to change this? What if I want to put like a rail, a mounting rail here on the side and put a different ammo counter? That's probably something I'm going to do off stream because that's going to take a bit of thought to do. And I don't want to waste too much time. And by time I mean your time. I want to make these streams at least a little interesting to watch. And you know, actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scale this muzzle brake's a little too wide. So I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. Probably to there. I was matching it to this, and really I should be matching it to this. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Oops. That scaled out, and I didn't want it to. Oh man, you're telling me I'm gonna have to select all of these edges. I can't just alt select. If you got any questions about what exactly I'm doing and why I'm doing them, I kind of explained earlier in the stream. So if you're confused about anything, I would back up the stream a little bit. Like I said earlier, we're making a low poly model, and we're just sticking with a low poly model. And I explained why. So if you want to know why, because there's more people here than there was in the beginning of the stream when I explained this stuff. So yeah, we're not making a high poly model. We're sticking with low poly. Now, next thing we can do is... I don't think I'm going to be adding this thing. This thing right here. That might be... I don't know, we'll see. If we have enough, you know, triangles in our budget to do so, then I might put something there. Anyway. I guess next thing we can do is add a plane. And... oops. Yeah, it has been a while, mainly because I've just been busy with life and I haven't just had a very good opportunity to work on things. Now, a friend of mine and I, Zach, we actually started a YouTube channel called Circuit Horde where we just play video games. We've been playing... So both of us are game collectors, and I have hundreds of games that are sitting on shelves that I just haven't played. And we kind of started this channel to give us an excuse to actually play the games we own. And that was something we actually were doing for a while before we started making videos. And then we got to the point where, like, we should just make videos because just to keep these memories of, you know, us playing those games. So we decided to start a YouTube channel and we upload there, and it's mainly for us and for our friends, but if that's something that may interest you, definitely go check it out. We play mostly retro games, and we don't really have a filter as to what games we play and don't play. We play just about everything. I mean, we'll play like Dora Saves the Crystal Kingdom on the PlayStation 2. Like, we just do anything. But yeah, hopefully my goal is to stream either Halo modding or game development at least a couple of times a week. Not every day. A lot of days I'm busy and I just can't, I can't do it. But, the goal at least is to do it a couple times a week. So the next thing here I I'm kind of looking out for is, first of all, this shape. Um we could do this the easy way, or we could do this the more Halo 3 way. I'll say that. So except for the battle rifle, with its scope, and the trigger guard and the barrel, most of everything is just one mesh. It's just one mesh. Where, you know, uh, for example, with the assault rifle, it might have made more sense if they made whatever you call this on the assault rifle a separate mesh, and then underneath it they have this mesh, and then maybe the handle or the grip here another mesh. But no, it's actually all just one mesh. Uh, and I'll show it here. This, it's all connected. It's all one single mesh. These little screws, whatever these are, knobs, aren't a part of this bigger mesh. But generally, if it doesn't move independently, like the op handle or the safety button, then it is one mesh. Uh, so the question is that, do I make this tactical rail here and whatever this thing is, do I make it a part of this mesh or do I keep it separate? And I think I'm going to make it just a part of this mesh just to stay a little bit more accurate. Not that it really matters, but just to be a little bit more accurate to the Halo 3 general doing things of, I don't know what to say there, but uh the issue though that that's going to create here is that we're going to have a very slim face here that's going to probably create a bunch of headaches when we're UV unwrapping this thing. Specifically with texel density, that stuff. Um, Sparkling water. Um, Another thing I want to do here. This is not going. I'm not going to do this until much later, though. After I've created. That's my alarm. After I created the base shape, is I'm going to bevel this edge so it's not. So it looks like it's an actual edge with light reflecting off of it instead of just this ugly, you know, flat edge that looks completely unrealistic. And you can see they did the same thing on the battle rifle here. If I turn on uh if I turn on wireframe, you can see here on this edge they beveled it, and that is just there to make it look more realistic, to make it look more grounded in reality, because if you just have a flat edge there, light's not going to interact with it very well at all. So eventually, after we get the base shape of this completed and I have these holes cut out here, or before I cut out these holes, sorry, got reflux. We're going to bevel that edge. So I want to make sure everything looks decent enough here. That looks fine. Next thing we can do is we can work on this foregrip. Now this is where we're going to want to start adding edge loops, and this is where it's probably going to help us up here with this shape, because we can use these edge loops to do some stuff up here. I'm gonna bring these in just a bit. And I want to turn clipping on. Now with these two edges, it's not doing what I want it to do. And that's probably because I need to create an actual face here. I'm trying to edge slide this up. Probably gonna have to do it one at a time, which is unfortunate. Oops. No. We don't want to edge slide that. We're gonna... I think edge sliding, or no, maybe bringing it up kind of did something here, where we're not getting a consistent width. But honestly, I don't think that's going to be a problem. That might actually make it look a bit better. I do want to bevel this. Only one edge there, and then we can bevel let's just stick with one. Now I'm starting to wonder if we should just make new edge loops here, so we don't have these triangles. Let's see what this looks like. Actually, no, let's put that after the mirror. Yeah, we're gonna want edge loops, because that looks terrible if we keep those triangles there. But I do want to see... Yeah. Yeah, we need to get rid of those triangles, because that's just gonna look like hot garbage if we keep it like that. So, edge loops it is. Um, how do I constrain it to an axis? Is it shift? No. What is it? Z? Yeah. And that did nothing because I didn't click Z. There we go. Yeah. See how much better that looks right there? That's because we created an edge loop instead of, or we got rid of a triangle, really. Um, Triangles are generally not a good thing to have. Same thing with n-gons, but like I said earlier, since we're creating a mesh that's not going to be deforming, we don't really care about topology as long as our shading looks correct. Wondered why that looked weird. Because that was not marked as sharp. So yeah, now we have a shape that actually looks decent. Thinking, should we bring these in maybe just a little bit? Maybe we can... No, we can keep those vertices there. That's not going to matter too much. The one thing I don't like about the Commando Rifle is how blocky it is. I mean, it's fine. It's fine, but, like, it's just kind of square. Versus the Battle Rifle is, like... I mean, it's square too, but you have, you know, places where it dips down. The Assault Rifle is just has a lot of character to it. You can see it has depth. The Commando doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it. But I don't really feel like changing that. That's above my pay grade. Like I said, if I change anything, it's probably going to be this ammo counter. And if I do that, that's gonna be something that's off stream, because that's going to take a whole lot of thought to figure out, and I don't want to spend too much time on stream trying to figure out what to do with that. So now we actually got quite a bit of edge loops to play with, which means we can work on that shape up top. I bet my camera's going to shut off here in a second, because it's been like around 20-30 minutes since it last shut off. So let's get these vertices in the positions that make sense. Why did that move every single vertice on that? I think I alt selected. Now this is kind of stretching the shape out a little bit, stretching the topology out, so I'm gonna kind of relax these vertices here. I still don't really like, you know, doing that, but again, this is... What in the world am I thinking? Hold on, just a second. I put two vertices in the exact same place. Uh, right here. That's good. Um, it's because I have sunglasses on and I have two lights shining in my face right now. Um, again, this is not a mesh that's going to be deforming, so topology really doesn't matter too much, but I still like to kind of relax things out a bit, so things kind of have at least a smooth, a consistent direction, more consistent direction of where they're going. And you know what? We're going to bring out both of these. It's looking pretty good. We can do something like that. Like I said earlier, we're going to bevel this edge so it looks a lot more natural. Um, I'm not going to do flat shading, anything like that. That'll look just incredibly tacky. It doesn't look good in Blender, and it really doesn't look good in the Halo 3 engine. I've created models for Halo 3 before, and I put to get stuff together just kind of, you know, willy-nilly, and it, you know, flat edges look, especially if they're close to the camera, which weapons are always, with Halo 3 shaders, no. Flat edges do not look good. I mean, obviously that's what I'm doing here, but it's a case by case situation. Okay, I think we have an opportunity here to create an edge loop here. I completely lost it. There it is. And we can bring it out kind of like that. But another thing I want to do, I want to do that. That's fine. That's totally fine. And that's good. Now, I think I am going to flatten, or we could bevel it. We could also bevel it, but actually, I'm just going to make it sharp. That is not as important as this one. And you know what? We do need to bring this edge in here, and then yeah. Ever since like Blender, what is this? Blender 4.2, ever since like Blender 4.0 or 4.1, the way that they changed this function right here, object shade smooth, it confuses me. It doesn't work the same way it used to work. Because here, without this sharp edge, and I don't have edge angle onto 30 degrees, if we were to do that, these two edges right here, these three edges really, would automatically be smooth. And they're not. So I don't know why that is. It's kind of frustrating. Now, marking edges, the way the Halo 3 game engine deals with all of this, the normals, from my experience, from what I understand with Halo 3 and its game engine, uh, even if you were to apply, custom normals, the Halo 3 engine's going to override it anyway. So really, when you're doing normals and, that stuff, what you need to be concerned about is doing edge splits where when you export this out and you apply the edge split modifier, what that's going to do is that it's going to separate all of this into separate, not separate meshes, but like separate islands. And what that does is that will influence the normals of the model. Um, just another thing to keep in mind with Halo 3 is that if you try to do in from what I understand, custom normals, that's not going to work. You just need to apply sharp edges and then it's going to do the normals that way. Uh we can make this one face right there. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea why Shade Smooth. Is it working now? Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, it's working now. Okay. The way they change Shade Smooth is just really bizarre. I don't understand it. Anyway, we're good. Um I think the next obvious step to do here is to create this little knob, whatever that is. Uh which is super simple. Nope. There we go. And that makes that area look less naked. But you know what? I am thinking we're going to add some sort of element here just to make this look a bit better. Okay. And I'm going to bring that out all the way. I'm a little okay. Okay, I get what's happening. So now, okay. Okay, hold up. uh, you know what? It's edge loop time again. I did not even notice. And this is a detail I think we need to put in because it's going to make the model look considerably better. The way it dips here. I did not notice that when it was just I don't know how I didn't notice it because it's also very apparent here, but the model kind of has an indentation right here. And we're going to add that because that's going to make our model look, less like a rectangle. So that's going to require an edge loop here. Very simple fix. See, the nice thing about working in low poly is that it's very, very easy and very fast to change things. But where was that? What, right here? Like I said earlier, if you're confused with anything I'm doing, or like why is he doing that? Why is he doing it this way? Um, I would recommend going back to an earlier part of the stream. I stated earlier why I'm doing the things I'm doing. Like why we're doing low poly specifically. Um, and it's because I'm just gonna restate it here. Uh, I don't, in my opinion, from looking at these bump maps, I don't believe that they baked this low poly mesh from a high poly mesh. That's my opinion. Maybe they did, but I think they used an alternative method for baking for baking these bump maps. I don't think they baked from a high poly mesh. So we're going to do what I think they did, and it's also kind of just overall kind of less complicated and faster doing it the way I'm going to do it as well. So, but we're not going to get to that today in this stream. All we're going to do in this stream is model this thing. How in the... Okay, hold on. I noticed this earlier and I didn't acknowledge it, but I don't know how that got there. That's something I ask myself quite a bit when I'm modeling in Blender. How did that get there? It's harder because I have these on. And I have two lights shining in my face. Um, Oh, that's going to make it look so much better. That already looks... We haven't even added the beveled edges yet, and that looks so much better. That breaks up the shape so much. Okay, here's the fun part. The magazine well and the grip. Now we're actually dealing with some complicated shapes. But that's why I have saved these Blender files for us to look at. Uh, Interesting thing about the Commando is that it's the only rifle in Halo, other than the sniper rifle that I'm aware of, where the magazine well is in front of the trigger instead of behind the trigger. Most rifles in Halo are bullpup. The Commando is not. Uh, Fun fact. Now, if we take a look here at the battle rifle grip, this is different for the submachine gun and the Magnum. The submachine gun and Magnum actually have not fairly, they have relatively higher topology, higher density topology than what you find on the battle rifle and the assault rifle. Here, if I turn on wireframe again, you can see that the assault rifle grip is basically a rectangular prism. Same thing with the battle rifle. They didn't bevel these edges. They're not shaped in a, crazy way. In fact, let me open let me open up the SMG to show you what I'm talking about. I think I have the SMG saved. Where is it? Right here. There we go. Let's turn on the wireframe. So here on the grip of the SMG, you can see that they did bevel these edges. They did make it a little fancier. But on the rifles, such as the assault rifle and the battle rifle, they did not do that. So I'm not going to worry about that with the Commando. But what I will do is I will make this magazine well. I will bevel this magazine well. Just so, because the reason why is because the player does not really see the grip. So it's really not that important to add that much detail. The hand is always going to obscure the grip most of the time in, most of the shape. Stream says, I have bit rate issues again, and I hope that's fine. Uh, okay. Yeah, I don't really know much about streaming. Anyway, I will make the magazine well look a bit more presentable. I will create beveled edges. That is my campaign promise. And we can go ahead and we can get started on that. Yeah. Again, I alt selected when I didn't need to. This did not maintain. What? Hold on. I'm confused again. This edge is... What in the world happened? That's what it needs to look like. Did the same thing happen over here? What is going on? I think it's the sunglasses. I really do think it's the sunglasses. I think that fixed the issue there, but let's continue. Next thing is... There we go. We're gonna bevel that, so that should fit. We have this... Okay, something still doesn't look the way it's supposed to. There we go. It's fixed. Okay, so we're gonna bevel this after I get the basic shape done. And what that's going to do is that should make this edge go inside here instead of sticking out. So let's create the magazine well. Hmm. You know what? I did this wrong. There we go. Maybe. Ideally what you would do is you would take this face right here and you would rotate it like that. That's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the coward's way out. Sorry. That, you know what? That did not sound good. I'm sorry about that. That was a little cringe. That just came out, and I didn't even think. Uh, yeah. So this is for Halo 3. Answering this person in chat here. This is for Halo 3, which is, if you take a look at the battle rifle, if you take a look at any model in Halo 3, Halo 3 is, I mean, that's pretty high density right there, but Halo 3 is generally very low poly. The assault rifle is at 2,000 triangles. The battle rifle is at like 3,000. So we're talking very low poly, and um, I'm making it in the style of Halo 3. So generally, we want to keep it low poly. Uh, the issue I have with just porting weapons from other Halo games is that you'll have a 3D model that just looks totally out of place. Like I mean, the the infinite weapon pack, whatever, I can't remember what it's called, the mod that one person made is really good. Like the functionality for the weapons are there, but I just, when I see that, I'm like, I don't know if I like Halo Infinite models in Halo 3. Halo Infinite models are incredibly detailed. Um but Halo 3 is very simple. Yeah. So I have an idea, maybe. Have an idea. We're gonna redo this. And I am gonna rotate it. I'm not going to do what I said I was gonna do with this magazine well. Yeah. Um, that's kind of a good point. The Commando doesn't really necessarily look like a futuristic weapon. I mean, obviously, the battle rifle doesn't really too much either. I mean, to an extent it does. The assault rifle is definitely 100% 100% a futuristic rifle. I think I have noticed that the Commando really, it could pass for a modern a modern firearm, really. I know that there's more accurate ways to do this, what I'm doing right now. And what I am it, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, is this hold on. Hold on. Hold your stinking horses. There's an easier way to do this. There's a much easier way to do this. Just like that. Just like that. It's that easy. And just like that. Oops. We have a magazine well that is a consistent width. Perfect. Let's relax these edges here. Um, I don't even know what Apex Havoc is. Is that a game or a I assume it's a game. I might know what it is. I might just be might not know it by name. I have to take a look at that. Let's take a look at the Halo Infinite model. So we have a rounded edge right here and a rounded edge right there. So that's going to be very simple. Uh, okay, yeah, we're good. Know what I just realized though that we need to make this area higher. Huh. Okay. Can what what can thank you. Like I don't know why I can't select that face. Let's do that. And I want to make sure what I'm doing won't isn't going to screw up the model. I think we're fine. Something doesn't look right here though. What the Oh my gosh. Oh. There we go. Okay. I am I am getting so confused here. I don't even know got how these vertices got misplaced, but they did. Oh, Titanfall. Yeah. Yeah. I've played Titanfall 2. It has been several it's been a long time. I don't know if I would say several years, but it's been a long time. Titanfall 2 is awesome. I love Titanfall 2. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the only reason I well, weren't there like issues with the servers though? Like where they didn't upkeep the servers and it was just like a huge mess, something like that. Uh seemed that's like something I heard about it, but sorry, I'm just trying to think about what I want to do here. I think we're safe to at least bevel this, and we can. Let's do like, I don't know. I want to say three is good enough. Yeah. Um, like I said, it's been several years since I've played Titanfall 2. So, I'm not really familiar enough with the weapons, but yeah, I mean, definitely could use that for inspiration. I'm gonna have to play Titanfall 2 again very soon. And I am aware that this magazine well doesn't completely line up, but I'm not too worried about 100% accuracy. What I'm worried about is, does it look good? Does it look consistent? That's what I'm mainly concerned about. Let me make sure I'm not include non-edited. I don't want to include non-edited. Uh, I think I think that's going to be fine. We can get rid of that. Now we kind of have, we need to clean this up quite a bit, which shouldn't be too hard. That's not gonna look the best though. If we have a, and I'll show you here. Because that face is very small there, that's going to create shading issues. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Titanfall because that would be that would actually be a really good place to draw some inspiration. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, but we're going to bevel those edges. I forgot about that. So really we do want to get rid of but but big but here. This is going to be temporary. This is going to be very temporary. But just making that a whole face so we can bevel this and it's going to be consistent. If we had that where it was, I think I'm going to redo this foregrip here at some point later on, but here, if we had these edges connected together like this and like that, when we try to create this bevel, that's that's not going to create the best bevel, so I think it's best to create this as one face, then bevel it, and then we can fix the topology later after it's beveled. And 2 is going to be good enough. Before we bevel, though, what do we need to do back here? Yeah, we need to make sure we bevel this edge before we... Yeah, let's go ahead and bevel this. Is there a... Sorry, that might have been really loud in the microphone. Um, is there a way to invert this bevel? It's not... Well, it might be profile. I want to see what my other options are before I do profile. Um, what does O do? Let's do... I just want to do a regular bevel like that, but inverted. Profile type. Custom profile, but how do I customize the profile? You know, instead of, trying to fight with it, I could just do this. Again, what is going on? Oh, I know. There we go. And then yeah, I don't want to mess with that. We can just get rid of that. And then yeah. Just like that. Wait a minute. No, that screwed things up. Sort of. No, we can still do that. We just kind of have to clean this up a little bit. First of all. Yeah. 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 Although, now we're gonna have an issue. We're gonna have another issue. Maybe? I mean, we are gonna have an issue. Crap. Crap. Okay, I know what we need to do. I know what we need to do. First of all, see, 3D modeling, you got to do a lot of problem solving. We don't we don't need this. Dang it. Hold on. Dissolve edges. There we go. Uh Okay, we should be able to do the exact same thing we just did, but now we're not going to have an issue cropping up here with the bevel. Yeah. Okay, let's try this and see what happens. What? Why is that pinching right there? Wait a minute. It's because I had doubles. That's what I was expecting. This mesh is not for collision. It is going to be the actual render model, but this is very rough, a very rough stage. This is not close to what it's going to look like in the end. I'm just setting things up so I can manipulate edges easier and bevels and vertices. Um, the collision model is going to be significantly less detailed. Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't spend nearly as much time creating the collision model as I'm doing right now. Collision model is meant to be very basic. This is still a huge pain, though. This is. I think that's good. Now it's all about cleaning this mess up right here. Here's another thing I don't understand. Clearly, I want to snap the vertice to this edge, but when I tried to snap it, it hovers above the edge, and I never understood why that it does that. Like, do I use edge perpendicular or what? I mean, I would expect to be able to just use edge. I gotta do it manually, apparently. I'm just gonna get it close enough. Like, that's close enough, and then I'm going to just move it without edge snap. I'm in the zone right now. What? There we go. That's just gonna be good enough. Okay, let's create our gigantic ugly face again. And now let's bevel this. Oh, I already beveled that side. I don't even... Hold on. What happened? I beveled this on accident. God. Okay. See, this is the issues you get when you're wearing sunglasses and there's lights shining in your face and you don't have your prescription glasses on. This is so messed up. Gotta turn clipping off. Okay. That's fixed. Hip hip hooray. Wait. Oh my god. What's the problem now? Thank you. Okay, let's bevel it on purpose this time. Okay, we're not gonna have any issues, really. I mean, we'll have some cleaning up we need to do, but that's gonna be fine. Okay, let's Let's clean this up. First of all, let's get rid of this face. Let's see what happens if we just merge them at center. You know, hold up. These bevels do not need to be applied evenly. That's fine. This bevel doesn't need to be nearly as insane. Honestly, that's probably good. Let's see what this looks like. That looks good. That looks fine to me. Now we got some cleaning up to do, but that looks good. I think I am gonna redo this. Definitely redo this foregrip though. Okay, let's clean this up a bit. Yeah. I thought something looked weird right there, but it wasn't. It was just the shading that threw me off. Um, no. Now I'm wondering, do I do this shape right here, the cutout with the magazine? Where you can see the magazine. Honestly, I'm not I'm not like I wouldn't be too saddened if we don't include that part. That does add some pretty cool detail though. I will say that. If we want to include that, we can do this. Maybe. Hold on. I keep wanting to alt select everything that I do. Yeah. For a second, I thought those lines weren't parallel, and I was like, how in the world could those lines not be parallel with each other? Gonna do something like that. And it's really as simple as just beveling the vertices. Maybe. No, not quite that easy. Again, I'm doing things the hard way. It's really not that hard. We just need to bring in a circle. We don't need this to be very high poly. What about 12? How does 12 look? 12's fine. 12's just fine. Oops. Oh my gosh. I'm confusing my hotkeys. Could make it a little longer. And then I kind of want it to be parallel with this line. Again, doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but that's good enough. Okay. Now we can inset it like so. You know what though? I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. I'm gonna make it wider and shorter. Just so it's a bit more apparent. That's good. Let's make it parallel again. That almost sounded like parallelogram. Maybe something like that. Yeah, like that. Okay, now comes the task of connecting all this crap together and not have the shading look awful. That's gonna be easier said than done. The first obvious one is connecting those two. I think that makes sense. And then that. The issue down here, this is a big issue. We don't really have the geometry down here. We can create it. We can create the geometry. Which we'll probably just have to do. What happens if we just make that a triangle? Yeah, see that. Well, wait, hold on. Wait, wait. Hold your horses. The normals are bad. There we go. Okay. Shading there looks fine. That looks good enough. Another thing you'll notice about Halo 3 models is that again, they a lot of the times they have pretty messy topology. There's a lot of triangles where, you know, just put around places that you know, the thing. I am going to do that though. I am going to create a vertex there. Oh, but see, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Maybe it's because we need to sharpen this edge. Yeah, that was it. See, and we all live happily ever after. That looks good. Not perfect topology, but it's good enough for Halo 3. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We can't do that. We gotta we gotta create another edge loop. Yeah. But then we get this. Do I create another edge loop? I think the answer is yes. Now check this out. Bam! See, that's good. That looks good. But the big question is, how do we deal with this? Because that can cause problems. It's a triangle. But is it going to be that big of a deal? Because the player's probably not going to see that. That's good. That's good enough. Now we just need to create 2 edge loops here to satisfy what we have down here. Oh, but look at that. See, that doesn't look great. Let me take a look at the model here. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so you want to know what my answer to that problem is? Boom. That didn't do what I thought it was going to do. Still looks better, I think. Now, another question to be asked is, what do we do with this hole here? I think that. I think that's fine. Because the mag's going to cover this up anyway. And we can make a shader or something that kind of hides this to a degree. So when the mag isn't inside, it kind of looks like a dark hole. My camera's off. I forgot. I forgot about the camera. So now I'm gonna redo the foregrip. I'm gonna do that right now. And by redo, I mean I might just add an edge loop there and go. See, doesn't that look so much nicer? What are we up to? 377 triangles on one side of the mesh. So we're at about 600 something. Or no, 700 something. So we got plenty of triangles left to play with. Here is another problem though. How do we connect this together? I think that's fine. The issue, so this is the case with anything, with any game, but Halo 3 will throw errors at you if you have faces with a volume of 0 or a surface area of 0. And if you have like edges that are just that, are just so close together, and it's just not good practice or anything like that to keep that kind of stuff around. You want to nip those in the butt before they cause problems for you. I think that's good right there. Okay, what's next? I think it's gonna be the grip. The grip. Now, We might want to do something similar to what the SMG is doing here, where they have a little space, you know, here that kind of matches, the shape kind of matches each other here. Might want to keep that in mind. But since it's a rifle, like I said earlier, the grips aren't terribly detailed. So I think the grip is going to be fairly easy to figure out. How much, yeah, we have plenty of space here to work with a grip. But you know what, though? I think I'm going to call it a stream. I think we're good here. I'll probably come back tomorrow to work on it some more. I'm going to work on this off stream. I'm going to do quite a bit of work here off stream. But yeah, that'll do it. I'll try to stream tomorrow. Um, if I don't, I don't. I won't be available to stream probably Monday through Thursday, which is the day after tomorrow through, and then 4 days after that. Might not be able to stream on Friday either. We'll see. I'll try to stream tomorrow. Like I said, if I don't, I don't. But don't expect to see me most of this week. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you learned a few things. And if you're, I mean, you're probably watching this after the stream is finished, or you're watching this video on demand. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next stream. So take care, everybody.